From Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is The Pulse.
Hello, my name is Jordan Norkus.
And I'm Jessica Shalou. Thank you for joining us. On January 29th, Sacred Heart University hosted Jesuit priest Father James Martin in the Chapel of the Holy Spirit. He came to talk about showing respect and welcome in the Church of LGBT people. This topic has been heavily debated in the Catholic Church. Sacred Heart President Dr. John J. Patillo addressed the campus through email before the event, responding to, quote, an outpouring of letters, emails, and calls regarding Martin's views. Patillo responded, on our campus, we study differences and advocate for free speech, discussion, and open minds.
In national news, the United States will experience a polar vortex over the next few days. 85% of the nation will experience temperatures below freezing, and in some cities, temperatures will plunge to as low as 70 below zero. Meteorologists say some parts of the Midwest will be colder than Antarctica. Where did this vortex come from? It's actually always been there, circling above the North Pole. When it weakens, it moves south, and this time, it's moved here.
President Trump will make his State of the Union address on February 5th. Originally scheduled for January 29th, the address was moved after an exchange of letters between Trump and Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi cited security concerns since government workers were going unpaid during the partial government shutdown.
We've had government shutdowns in the past, but none quite like this, the longest in our country's history. What made this shutdown different?
There is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border.
President Trump has appealed to fear, not facts.
How much more American blood must we shed before Congress does its job?
The symbol of America should be the Statue of Liberty, not a 30-foot wall.
This is just common sense.
On December 21st, the government shut down after President Trump and Democrat lawmakers failed to agree on funding for Trump's proposed border wall. The shutdown became the longest in our nation's history, extending past the 5-week mark. But why such a long shutdown? What makes this one different from those of the past?
And if it's not good border security, I won't tell you.
Politics and our government in this day and age has become so incredibly polarized. And Trump himself is a very polarizing figure. Nancy Pelosi is a very polarizing figure. Generally speaking, the chasm, between parties has widened to the point where we have now, I think, a very dysfunctional government.
Donald Trump had pretty much had his way in Washington, and all of a sudden there's this resistance. He had a hard time handling that resistance, and that's why it dragged on so long.
On January 19th, Trump announced a compromise to end the shutdown. It would increase border security while extending DACA, a program which Democrats support.
We will then have the best chance in a very long time at real bipartisan immigration reform.
Democrats didn't budge.
President, in order to reopen the government.
$1?
In many ways, it seems like the art of compromise and statesmanship has reached a low point in our politics, and I don't really see the decorum and the statesmanship and the civility that I think at one time we did experience.
On January 25th, Trump signed a short-term spending bill that would reopen the government for 3 weeks.
If you don't get a fair deal from Congress, the government will either shut down on February 15th again, or I will use the powers afforded to me under the laws and the Constitution of the United States to address this emergency.
I don't see another shutdown. The Republicans don't have an appetite for it, and certainly the Democrats aren't going to go for it. So Trump will be on his own, and he doesn't have the House now. And I don't see the Senate having the stomach to to vote on anything that would cause another shutdown.
In a much broader sense, I'm concerned about how it really looks to the world and the American people themselves, because it's hard to respect and trust a government that just doesn't seem to understand how to compromise and come together.
For The Pulse, this has been Sabrina
then,
Garone.
It's good now, and it won't shut down the government.
Chuck, we can build a
But that's
much
it.
bigger
Let's
section with
debate.
more money.
When we return, Sacred Heart celebrates Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Plus, meet one international student who turned roadblock into opportunity. Stay with us.
Welcome back to The Pulse. It's been over 50 years since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. left us, but his powerful words have not. Sacred Heart's Office of Mission and Identity celebrated the Reverend's life and discussed how America has dealt with racism in the past and present.
Just last week, Sacred Heart celebrated the accomplishments of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose words impacted us more than ever.
There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied?
This annual event reminds students to continue to root for Tarzan, including keynote speakers Robert Pellegrino and Michael Jefferson.
Well, this is one of our hallmark events here at the university, and it gives our students an opportunity to realize all of the wonderful things and all the great work that Dr. King, along with his colleagues, have done so that our students, our faculty, and our staff can all be educated together.
No one is born harboring racial bias, no one. These are all learned behaviors rooted in a socialization process. Society has made progress on the racial front. There's a lot more work that needs to be done. I think right now we've had somewhat of a setback due to the political climate in the country, but I think it's a hiccup that we have to deal with.
The pair explored the topics of racism and prejudice, making statements to be considered controversial.
I happen to think every white person in America is racist to some degree, but if you say that, people think, okay, I'm going to dismiss him because he's nuts.
I'm disappointed that the overall level of consciousness, the overall level of sophistication when we talk about the topic hasn't risen as much as I think it would have in 60 years or so. We're still kind of stuck.
Students were also allowed to ask Robert and Michael questions on their studies, hoping an impact would be made.
If we did obtain a lot more knowledge about race and racism over the last 60 years since Dr. King, it would become enough of a priority for whites to say, we don't want that kind of country. We don't want that kind of divisiveness. But because we haven't moved that far forward, in my opinion, overall, someone like that can get elected and we can regress in terms of race relations.
Is this the America Martin Luther King wanted it to be? For The Pulse, Lindsey Grant.
What would you do if you didn't have the opportunity to apply for an internship? Hector Gutierrez, an international student from Mexico, ran into just this problem. Here's how he turned roadblock into opportunity.
Mud Magazine started as a project that wants to tell real stories about real people.
Hector Gutierrez, an international student from Mexico, is now in his senior year at Sacred Heart University. As he was planning to apply to internships in New York City to go with his English and Global Studies major, he ran into a problem.
I wanted to work in publishing. I wanted to go do something that was going to prepare me for the jobs that I was going to apply later on. And then I discovered that international students cannot do an internship unless their program requires one. And unfortunately for me, English and Global Studies do not require their students an internship. I was trying to find something that would let me create my own experience, but also something that I would enjoy. You know, for some reason, it came in the form of a magazine, which allowed me to not only, write for it, it allowed me to talk to people, meet people, listen to their stories. It was definitely hard to find writers, but it was also easy. I think when people started seeing what the magazine was about, they were more compelled to reach out and say, hey, I want to write something, or hey, I have a really good story. Growing up in Mexico, I read a lot of books about stories of people that, lived in the US that looked different than me, spoke different than me, had different experiences. So I really wanted to have something where different people from different cultures define and relate to the stories for them to just, find more about who they are.
And that's why every issue published has its own theme. The first issue featured topics of resilience, while the January issue focused on hope.
I think I'm trying to create a magazine that will resonate through all sorts of differences, age, race, cultural background, like nationality, languages. Like I'm trying to reach as many people as I can just by telling stories that matter.
With a millennial twist, Mud is almost entirely a remote magazine in both production and product.
It's all through email, and it's all through deadlines that I give them, email contact, sometimes FaceTime. It's basically all online. I know especially college students don't have a lot of time to just, have meetings like regular magazines do. So I try to be as accommodating as I can for other students to want to write but don't feel like it's a burden for them. And when it comes to the magazine, I want it to be as real as it can be. So I literally go to people and say, you have a story. The only thing I ask from you is that you believe it's a story that matters and the people in the world should know about it.
There are a few steps that go into producing your own magazine.
Basically what happens is that the first time of the month, right after the issue is published, it's all social media. The next part is a little more laid back too, because it's just me contacting writers. The last thing would be the actual crunch time, computer editing, photo editing, writing, editing, all that stuff that takes for the final product to be made.
While Hector has the help of his contributing writers, his biggest support comes from his sister.
My sister, she has helped me so much with the magazine. We work on it together. We brainstorm ideas. We pretty much just build the entire issue from the beginning all the way to the end together.
While reflecting on his journey with Mud, Hector offered insight to what students in internships are supposed to walk away with.
I think regardless if it's required for the major or not, I think everyone in college just wants to get that experience and wants to, get their foot in the door for companies and businesses all around. But I don't feel like I'm left out by not being able to do an internship, because for me, the idea or the basis of an internship is to get experience. I think it worked out not the way I wanted to, but I think it worked out the best way possible.
Mud Magazine can be found at issuu.com/themudmag. This is Jessica Shalou reporting for The Pulse.
So Jess, you spoke with Hector. Where do you think he'll go from here?
Well, he's really excited for the future. He's hoping to expand Mud and be able to continue on even after he graduates.
Well, fingers crossed for him.
Yes.
After the break, a look at one of Fairfield's most famous food trucks.
Plus, meet one of the youngest DJs on today's scene. Stay with us.
To see all my friends again, get some work done, and have fun this semester.
I'm working on an internship for the New Haven Symphony Orchestra.
Just being back with everyone on campus, you know.
A college concert for spring semester.
Graduation.
Graduation.
Finishing my second semester of freshman year.
To not be a first semester freshman, and I know my way around, and I'm not lost all the time, so that's exciting.
More volunteer opportunities.
I'll have great grades this semester and make my mom happy.
Yeah, to spend time with my friends. Hang out with my lovely sorority sisters.
The plays that are coming up.
Just getting good grades, having fun, and make my parents happy.
Straight A's. Straight A's.
To get to know more people.
Get a 4.0 and grow a thicker mustache.
Yep, A's in all my classes this semester.
To contribute to making changes on campus.
I'm the VP of Programming for Greek Life for the Panhellenic e-board, so I'm really excited to plan Greek Week. Hopefully be more involved on campus.
Get new grades and go to the spring concert.
To serve people in the community. Serve people in the hospital setting as I go deeper into clinical.
To be applying to the social work program.
I'm excited to learn new things.
Welcome back to The Pulse. How many of you have started your day in Fairfield with the Breakfast of Champions? Have you tried the Pig, the Banker, or the Fatone? These are just some of the breakfast sandwiches offered by the Tasty Yolk food trucks. Let's learn more about what makes this yolk run. What happens when a financial advisor and the head chef at the Chelsea in Fairfield, Connecticut join forces? How about a breakfast food truck? On May 5th of 2016, Mike Bertanza and Eric Filito established the Tasty Yolk and rolled their way into Fairfield County.
I was driving by to pick up bacon, egg, and cheeses on Stratfield Road in Fairfield, and I was driving by some of the dorms, and I said, man, these kids could use a breakfast truck right outside of their house. Eric and I have known each other since we were little kids, so I asked him if he wanted to do a breakfast truck in the morning. And he agreed, and it kind of just went from there. Started with one truck, and now we're up to 3.
The food truck concept appealed to Mike and Eric because the trucks are easy to relocate, the overhead cost is low, and it allows them to be outside in direct contact with the public.
We started from scratch, basically. A motorcycle trailer just with some walls and a window built in. And Eric and I painted the floor on. We installed all the equipment, and then everyone else kind of chipped in their own way as well.
According to Eric and Mike, from a chef's standpoint, eggs are one of the hardest things to cook. But they've been cooking eggs and egg sandwiches their whole lives.
There's a lot of things to be said about eggs, and look at all the variations that you can do with them. It's just the perfect protein. You know, what's better than, an egg in the shell? It's a self-contained unit of food with the perfect portion size, so we're in love with eggs, I think we could say. It's something people can eat every single day, and they never get tired of it, So in terms of a business model, it's perfect. It's almost like pizza, but even if people eat pizza every day, they'll get tired of it. We've had customers come into the truck every day for 2.5 years, and it's pretty amazing.
One of their most popular breakfast sandwiches is the Tasty. More items on the menu include the Toma, the Fatone, the Banker, the Pig, and the Slenderizer.
I had an idea of what I wanted for the menu. Really, the names were just a brainstorm, and we just started spitting out names, and it seemed like we were just hitting them off right away. It was like, Pig, yeah. Mike's a Banker, yeah. So it was just really, it was smooth coming up with the names.
For the Tasty Yolk, it's not just the food names that set them apart from competitors.
So it's the ingredients, the quality. We use very reputable suppliers. The bread, it's fresh baked every day from Arthur's Ave, delivered to the restaurant. Everything's made to order. So, where a lot of those places are microwave. We have the griddle, which it's like cooking in a cast iron. So every time we cook a sandwich, it leaves residual flavor for the next sandwich to be made. I think that adds to it as well.
I have their number saved in my phone. I love that I can text them and come and pick it up. I love the vibes of the food truck. I feel like I'm supporting someone's dream. It's delicious egg sandwiches!
Right after opening the second truck on Fairfield Avenue, Eric made an appearance on national television. He competed on an episode of Food Network's popular reality show, Chopped, where he made it through all 3 rounds and became a Chopped champion.
it was an experience all around, and you are put on the spot. It's just like the show shows you. You know, you open a basket and you go. There's no secrets given out. There's no hints to what you're going to be preparing, so it's all on the spot. In terms of winning, I think that it contributed to the business just because for people to see someone that was on television, I think it drives them to that area just naturally. And then not to mention, you throw in the fact that we are making breakfast sandwiches. It's not that our sandwiches are basic, but the concept's a pretty basic idea. And then to be like, oh man, that guy is not only the chef of a restaurant downtown Fairfield, but he's also a Chopped winner on national television, and now he's cooking me my bacon, egg, and cheese. I think there's a little nostalgia right there to be like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, so let's check it out.
Without taking on too much risk, Mike and Eric plan on expanding the Tasty Yolk to both sides of the coast as much as they possibly can.
If you haven't eaten at the Tasty Yolk yet, you're missing out, and you gotta come and try it. You're gonna be surprised out of your mind.
This sandwich is no yolk. Come on down to Park Avenue, Fairfield Avenue, and Post Road for some sandwiches that'll be running through your mind all day long. This has been Jordan Orcus in Fairfield, Connecticut for The Pulse.
From diapers to turntables, a young prodigy provides a new meaning to Baby on Board as he shows that kids can, in fact, get a party started. Meet one of the youngest DJs on today's scene. Meet DJ Bam Bam.
14-year-old Omar Ennis is a Trumbull High School student who does it all. A basketball player, a student, and most notably a DJ, Omar has his hands in a little bit of everything. His stage name, DJ Bam Bam, comes from him banging on baby white boxes as a young child. Omar says that he's been DJing since he was 2 and was able to land his first gig at the age of 5. His influence mostly stems from his father, Orain Ennis, who was also a very popular DJ in Bridgeport. Because of his early start, Omar didn't have much trouble learning to use any of the equipment.
Since I was little, it really wasn't hard. It was just me messing around and figuring out stuff on my own. But I feel like I always had a good sense of rhythm and stuff, so that helped out a lot.
The young DJ has definitely managed to use his time wisely since a toddler. It's hard to imagine the balance that a young teenager like Omar must keep. His mother, Lily Ennis, is in charge of all of the scheduling that takes place within the family. It's safe to say he's got it under control.
Scheduling with the whole family is crazy at times. But I seem to manage everything as far as school, sports, and music goes. I usually stay up late nights, but I wake up in the morning and still push through every day.
But I ain't beat that case, I did the race. I've been running, gotta take me a bag.
With all of the activities that Omar has his hands in, it's undeniable that he's a well-rounded individual. Wisely enough, he recognizes the significance of being involved in many different projects as a kid.
I mean, it makes you more well-rounded as a person. You meet new people, different opportunities come out of stuff like that. I find it very beneficial myself.
DJ! 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 We want DJ!
It's amazing the impact that one kid can have on another. Lucky for him, Omar's influence goes beyond the adolescent generation. His talent touches people of all ages in different places. Omar has had tons of feedback about his influence on other teens who may also want to pursue DJing or other art forms.
Already a lot of people talk to me about different things they want to accomplish and different, like just my insight on how I did what I've done so far and how they could almost do the same thing. And it seems like a lot of kids are really interested and they want to live that kind of life or have that same kind of dream that I have.
It's inevitable that there's a lot more to come from this young creative. Amazingly, Omar has many other projects in mind as he plans to venture outside the world of DJing. Yet, he reassures that music will always be his top choice. As he continues to blossom, Omar will be on his way towards entering the future while making as much noise as possible.
Now that is music to my ears.
I can't wait to hire him for my next party.
Oh, and I will definitely be there.
And you're always welcome.
And that's all for today's show. I'm Jordan Orcus.
And I'm Jessica Shalou. We'll see you next time on The Pulse.